Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to talk about HTML headers. Now, a web page is created by combining different sections on the website. There are specific elements in our HTML that are used to divide a web page into many parts. In this lecture and in the next series of videos, we're going to talk about container elements. I've already hinted at what a container element is, and why you should learn and why they're useful, all the while keeping semantics in mind. So in this lecture, we have heard two new words. One is container elements, and the second one is semantic. Now, again, a container element is any kind of element that could contain other elements within it. So what is a container element right here? This HTML element, this is a container element. Why? Because it has a head element and it has a body element contained within it. This head element is also a container element because it has these three elements contained within there. The body element is also a container element. So this concept is clear. What about semantics? Semantic elements are the kind of elements that if you take a look at their name, you will understand what it exactly is going to do. For example, it says body. You know that this is the body of your web page. It says head. This is the head of your web page. This is HTML. It means that it is the HTML of your web page, the HTML element of your web page. So far, these three elements, they are semantic elements. Semantic elements are also called elements that have specific meaning. We do have some elements which are vague and ambiguous in HTML, like div. They don't have any specific meaning. They just pertain to divisions. Now, let's talk a little bit more about HTML headers. This is the first type of container element that we are going to, well, not the first type because we have talked about UL and OL, but officially this is the first type. And I thought, okay, now that we are done, almost done with beginner HTML, let's kick this up a notch and let's talk about more intermediate and advanced HTML elements. Now, there are like a lot of HTML elements, possibly hundreds, which I've not covered in this playlist, in this tutorial series. The reason for that is because I do really believe in practical approach to learning. So what I'm actually trying to do is just to get you comfortable with HTML and CSS, and we are going to dive into our websites. We are going to create 3 complete projects, which I'm going to add on to more in the future, maybe like 2 more projects or 3 more projects, 5 or 6 in total. But for now, we are going to keep it to 3. So there are going to be a lot more stuff when it comes to HTML and CSS that you are going to learn when we get to our websites, when we get to creating our websites. For now, I just want you to get your feet, what is the expression? Just get your hands dirty with this, with HTML. Just go ahead, start typing HTML and start understanding HTML. Again, we are going to cover all of the remaining HTML elements which are important when we get to our projects. For now, I just want to get you up and running with HTML as fast as possible. So, a header element has a name of header. So if you just write header, it's going to create a header. Now, a container element in HTML is no different when it comes to structure from a contained element in HTML. As you saw in our HTML lists, a UL had the same structure as an LI. It has an opening tag, it has a closing tag. But the purpose is different. I mean, you could use no container element, or you could use like your contained elements as your container elements. The page is still going to work, but you need to follow some specific practices, best practices, so you become a good developer. I mean, like, even the greatest there is. So within the header, this element is going to contain all the information that is going to come on the top part of any website. So for example, it's going to contain the logo, the navigation, links, a sign up button, a sign in button, if we are talking about Facebook. That is going to be what the header of the website is going to contain. That is why it is called header, because this is a semantic element. Now in here, I'm just going to provide an H1. You could also provide header as your main section of the website. That could be a header as well. So I'm going to say do what gives you joy. And I'm going to lowercase this o, and I'm going to save that. It says do what gives you joy. Now in here, the header element is the parent and the H1 is the child. In other words, the header is the container element and the H1 is the contained element. So let's just, before wrapping this lecture up, let's just go ahead and let's take a look at these elements within our console, within this inspect elements. Within the elements tab. What is the name of it? Help me. So in here, I'm going to say, here we have our header, and you can see that this is indented a little bit. To be exact, it is indented by 1 and 2 spaces. Because child elements, it is better for readability purposes if they're indented from their parent element, because in that case you will be able to better read them. It's better for readability purposes. So with this, our lecture comes to an end. See you in the next one.